Yep, it's just another. All right, we're live. We're live. Just another Manic Monday. Tweet the link out. W's in the chat. Is that what the streamers say?
What?
Streamers, YouTubers, they say things like W's in the chat. I don't know. Okay.
W's in the chat.
But we're live. It's Monday. It's just another Manic Monday after a long
Just another
holiday weekend.
Manic Monday. Are we? We're live.
We're live.
Live and direct.
Should we start with the Gable game?
Yeah.
I got it. I got it in 3 yesterday.
You do it. See, I have never once played the Gable game.
Not on there.
That wasn't on the show.
If I see somebody tweeting about it and it reminds me about it, I'm like, yeah, I'll go do Gable game. Sudoku and Gable game. Yesterday was a fun one. I did Chris Foca to start. It said one weight off, and it said, I think it said higher than Foca placed. So I went Levi Haynes, and then it said lower, so I went Patrick Kennedy and got it in 3.
Anytime. Well, again, I've done this 3 times, and you guys have been with me every step of the way, so you know exactly what my experience is with this game. But I would imagine anytime you get an All-American at the correct weight, I mean, it's
all right. Let's do today's. Who do you want to start with?
I want to start with
Lenny Pinto.
No, did you already put it in?
No, but I'm hovering over the name.
I want to start with a smaller conference. That's how I would start every time. I would start with like Patrick Brophy.
All right.
Let's go Patrick Brophy. And don't give me the thing about, well, you should start in
the
middle.
Okay, it's sophomore, it's lower than 97, closer to lower 75% win percentage. Did not place in NCAA.
So it's definitely a sophomore. Green means go, right?
Yep.
Green means correct. And it's also a qualifier. So that means if it says it's qualifier, does that include AAs?
NQ means they did not place.
I know, and it's green. But
so that means
if you took 8th, you're still a national qualifier.
No, 8th. I think it's top 8. We'll do the numbers. Blood round of 16.
Well, put it this way: this person has a winning percentage.
I know, it's crazy.
Lower than 75%. All right, you pick it. You pick a guy. Pick any guy. We'll alternate picks.
It's a hard one. Took me 8 guesses. Corby's in the chat. Corby, he has the brackets memorized, so I don't like that he said it.
Well, anybody with a win percentage lower than 75% is probably going to be tough.
Yeah. All right.
Not a superstar.
A sophomore. I'm going.
A sophomore.
Maybe I'll go over into the Big Ten, but man, didn't place. A sophomore who didn't place.
A sophomore who didn't place with a low winning percentage.
And we don't know what the...
We don't know what the conference is.
I don't know. Make a guess. This one's already...
It's not SoCon. Go in the middle. Go 57. Go 57. Who from the Big 12?
Jordan Williams, what was his...
He had a high winning percentage.
Higher than that?
Yeah. I mean, let's go somewhere in the middle. I'm looking at PBs, but not really PBs, because I'm just going to take a name on the backside at 57.
Let's go lower. You went really high for the first one. Let's go like 33-41 for the next one.
Okay. Let's go...
Give me a 33-pounder sophomore.
Grayson Clark.
Okay, Grayson Clark. Nope. Not in the Big Ten. Not at 141. So it's got to be...
He's a sophomore that's He's a sophomore that had a low winning percentage. That's why I picked him.
So we got to do a 20. It's got to be a 25 pounder. A sophomore 25 pounder.
Or 33.
Nah, it would you. So it would be yellow if you were one weight class off.
Oh, so it is 25 for sure. A sophomore at 125.
Not in the Big Ten, not in the SoCon. So what about a Big 12? Big 12.
Big toe 25 pounder. Tristan Doherty. Let's go Tristan Doherty. But I don't know. I'm honestly.
He was a senior. That was.
I was gonna.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have absolutely no idea what grade he was in.
All right, so it's a 125 sophomore.
And their winning percentage is between 54% and 75%.
Yep.
Who was Utah Valley's? Did Utah Valley have a qualifier at 25?
Kayvon Roller.
Nah, he's
ACC, yeah.
And he's bigger than that. Who's Lockhaven's this year? Because Noto went up. We didn't do. Let's do Caleb Weand. He's the first. Caleb Weand.
Nope, he was a freshman.
He was a freshman this year. Was 25. Caleb Weand, he had a 42% winning percentage.
I'm using PEBs, Willie. All right.
You using PEBs?
All right. I'm gonna go with some Basch Solutions
Weand
bias
was
here.
stupid because we already had the Big Ten.
Yeah. I'm going Basch Solutions bias here. Basch Solutions works with PRTC. Let's go Max Gallagher.
I hate even having the brackets here.
Bingo. Max Gallagher.
Max Gallagher. Yeah. Max Gallagher's a sophomore already. That was quick.
Crazy, right?
That's who it was. That was your first guess there? After Weand?
Yeah, basically.
Good job by you. Did you look? You looked at the PBs though.
Yeah, well, I ruled out some of the guys that you had already done, and I started at the top of the wrestlebacks, and Gallagher was the second name I saw. So
Max Gallagher. What was his winning percentage?
See, this is where we learn, Willie. This is where we learn in the off season.
Let's take a look. What did it say his winning?
72%.
Yeah, that's about right, I guess. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, let me check the chat because I haven't looked yet. Nick Cosco, 4 guesses. Max Gallagher's not that. Like random, strange. However, with a lot of the way people guess, I look in the chat and I see how you should do this, you should do that. I would imagine that anybody at 125 or heavyweight takes a little bit of time to get to based on the methods that most of the guys in the chat talk about, because they stay in the middle.
Yeah. All right, where you want to dive into first?
How was Izzy's barbecue? Izzy didn't make barbecue. Izzy, I'll tell you what. So I was out there for Izzy's camp, and I mean, honestly, Izzy was running a camp. I mean, there were more teams than Izzy's there. Max Askren was there with a couple AWA guys. And there were a couple kids from Jersey, a couple kids from here and there, right? A kid from Pennsylvania. Basically a Fargo tune-up camp. But I was only there for a couple days. And I came back. Izzy has a Traeger, and I opened it up, and the thing is cleaner than mine, which I got like an hour and a half ago. It looks like he used it once or twice. I don't think Izzy really smokes meat.
He does, but if you clean it and replace the tray liner, you can keep them pretty clean. I use the tray liners, and it does help.
Well, his is immaculate.
I believe it.
But my cooking experience when I came back was amazing. I did beef ribs, I did pork belly, I did something else. They all came out amazing. I posted pictures of the pork belly.
You should post a picture of the ribs. Anybody who's cooked beef ribs knows that's how they look. The meat shrivels up, and it comes off the bone, and it's like half bone, half beef ribs.
Well, here's the thing. When I cut them off the bone, then they weren't pretty. Then they were like rough around the edges. It wasn't like a slice, because that rib's curved. Anyway, it was phenomenal flavor. Phenomenal flavor. I don't know how Ben's doing. Max was there. I talked to him. Didn't go there. Didn't ask. Well, I'm not gonna. I'm very interested, but I don't want to be the 100th person that says, "Tell me about Ben." I'm not. I'll talk to Izzy later and ask about it or something. I don't know, but I just didn't want to. Who the hell wants to ask Max? He probably answered that question 100 times. Jerry Quarter. Why the hell has USA Wrestling not released Fargo entry list, and why are they playing this game? Well, it used to be hell on earth. I mean, that's one of the things that I did early on in like my wrestling journalism career was they used to never put out entries ahead of time. Like a day before the Fargo started, I would be in Fargo and get a list of who was there, and I would stay up all night long and write a preview. And it was brutal till like 3 a.m. because you had to start and end in one shot. And I don't know, it hasn't been long, maybe like 7 years ago, USA Wrestling started making each state send their rosters in, and USA Wrestling would put them out, and which is great, which is awesome. So you get way ahead of it. But it seems like this year it feels like that year they started later, because hell, we're right around the corner from the tournament starting, and we got, I don't know, 10 states released. So if you look on Mass Scouts on Rockfin right now, I have contenders list up for both junior men's freestyle and cadet men's freestyle, but it's limited to what states have been released, and I will add as I'm sure today. Plus, we didn't get one Friday, I think, and over the weekend because holiday weekend, I imagine. Anyway, you're right; it's way far behind. I don't know. It's very frustrating. Although it's light years better than what it used to be. I did, dude. I put in a full one yesterday because I did the entire cadet list from scratch. I updated the junior list. I finished with Crystal Ball at like 3 a.m. And so it was a long one. But we'll talk a little bit about.
We do got some wrestling news over the past week.
We'll talk a little bit about Crystal Ball in a minute, and the new one's up. So if you want to get like acclimated to what we're talking about next, you can pull that up on Mass Scouts and look at the current projections, because we'll dive into that a little bit. But news. Go with the news. What do you want to talk about, Basch? What first?
Well, the biggest one of the past week had to be Gabe Arnold departing Iowa. That started getting leaked out there, and then I went right to Gabe and I said, "Hey, hearing you're out at Iowa. Number one, is it true? And then number two, like, what happened? And he's going to come on eventually and talk about it, but he did confirm that he's basically being kicked off the team, and he had nothing negative to say about anybody at Iowa. But he's going to start looking for a new home, hit the portal, and his time in Iowa has concluded.
Yeah. Yeah. One of those weird situations where you usually don't get a consensus. I don't know. The first story that I was told, and this was 12 hours before anybody had tweeted it. I think Minio tweeted it. But I heard he was gone from Iowa. And I inquired and I heard this story. And then surprisingly, that story held up. Like, everybody had the same story. Which it's not rare that that's not the case, but it was so uniformly specific on all accounts. And the account goes like this. Gabe was Iowa was having a camp. The University of Iowa was having a wrestling camp. All the other team members worked it. Gabe told Tom that he had a prior engagement, something to do in Georgia. And then the team became aware that Gabe was on a vacation with his girlfriend. And at that point, Tom cleaned out his locker. And so, with the assumption that, we can all assume that Tom felt as if Gabe didn't work the camp so he could go on a vacation, right? Now, that's probably not a kick-offable offense.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, this is... Yeah, what I was going to say is, like, and that's basically what he told me. It sounds like Terry was okay with it. Tom was not. And it just sounds like it got a little bit contentious where I think this was the final straw, between them. This was not like, oh, hey, if you're not back for this camp, you're done, and this is a one-time strike. Like, I think there's been something lingering there. Gabe has talked about...
Absolutely there has.
Gabe talked about, like, during the season last year. Like, there was a lot going on, and this seemed to be more of just the final straw than...
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
Just, hey, you did this, so you're off the team.
Right. I think that the coaching staff felt like Gabe wasn't all in all the time. And I feel like they tried to get him there and tell him, like, hey, we need you all in. We need you all in. We need you accountable. And here's your last chance. And then this happened. That's what I'm pretty sure happened. I hope it's a wake-up call for Gabe. He's a great kid. All the talent in the world. And I hope he lands on his feet, and I hope he does a great job. Maybe it's a case where he doesn't want to be that serious of a wrestler. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Right? Not everybody's wired to, like, go full time, make it freaking serious all the time. Maybe Gabe's just not that guy. Maybe Gabe wants to wrestle up in weight and wrestle for 7 months of the year. But I hope whatever Gabe does, he does it so that he's happy.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of interest. I mean,
He will
coach
have a lot of interest.
coaches were reaching out to me, and because they're like, "Do you know if he's going in the portal?" And I said, "Yeah, he's going in the portal." And there was a lot of interest. So I think he'll find
Well,
a
you
new
know
landing
what's
spot
really
soon.
weird? What's that?
I think he'll find a landing spot rather quickly.
You know what's weird, and I wish I had more clarity on it. I mentioned on the message boards, the internet message boards, that I was going to get more clarity on it. I just haven't had the time. I'll tell you what, between this RAF stuff and my own stuff for Mad Scouts and a little bit of internet stuff, I'm just swamped, man. I can't get to anything. But I wanted to find out. So there's this new thing, bro. There's this new thing where if you get put off the team, especially because of this 30-man roster cap, right? Which is not really in effect yet. I don't even know if it's going to be in effect this year because you get like grandfathered in. They're appealing it, of course. But there's this new thing called designated student athlete, which means like if Gabe is technically cut and it means something for Iowa and it means something for the entirety of his career. Like if he goes to another school, I don't know that it necessarily hurts Iowa, but I think it helps his new school. Like if you're cut from the 30-man roster, right? So you are not on the team because of roster limits. And let's say Gabe goes to Pitt. Okay? I think there's a benefit to Pitt for picking up a guy that was cut on the 30 because of the roster limit. Now, again, I don't have clarity on it, but
Is Tony Ramos in the chat? If Tony Ramos is listening, can you call in and give clarity?
I think that Iowa has to designate him as such. And there's a lot of fuzziness around it. And normally I wouldn't bring up something that I wasn't well versed in, but it's very topical. So some of you guys that are rule experts, maybe a little better than me. Jason Bryan's saying DSAs don't count against your roster cap for schools that opt in. So, like, if Gabe Arnold were to go from Iowa to Pitt, he wouldn't count. Like, he wouldn't count on Pitt's 30-man roster cap, so they could technically have 31. All right? But I don't know if there's an additional financial thing as far as scholarships go, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure that it comes down to Iowa designating him as that, because so it's a benefit to the school that gets him, right? Because let's say you're Pitt, you have 30 guys on your roster, any school has a 30-man roster limit. If they pick up a Gabe Arnold, they could have 31, which is more than 30.
Interesting.
But I think he would have to be designated as such.
We'll have to get some clarity on that.
Arnold to Lehigh would be awesome. Yeah, that's an interesting wrinkle. And, these rules are ever changing and always appealed. And there's a lot of things to figure out with that. And there's a lot of, I think I'm going to sit down with Fellers and do a show too on revenue sharing, because that's a whole education into itself. I mean, the landscape has shifted once again. I mean, not as seismic as it did before, but we had the portal and censored NIL and uncensored bags of cash being thrown around. And that changed everything. But it changed everything for like 3 years. And now with the new house settlement and these NIL deals having to go through Deloitte and a third party arbitrator, that dramatically changes the game. And the revenue sharing thing dramatically changes the game. Now, I'm not saying that this had anything to do with it, but well, Gabe's contract was set anyway, so no, it definitely didn't have anything to do with that. But you could imagine schools that were offering big bags, they're going to have to cut back. Iowa is no longer going to be able to throw around that much, particularly for portal guys. You're not going to see as many. You're not going to see Ja'Cory Teamer as much. Those scenarios, Stephen Buchanan, as much, because they're not going to be able to throw it around. They're not going to be able to offer that amount of money. Now, like before, it was Stephen Buchanan. You can stay at Oklahoma for $100,000, or you can go to Iowa for $300,000. That's monster difference, right? Now it's going to be like Oklahoma's paying wrestler X $30,000, and Iowa's the most they can offer is like $50,000. So it's like more, but it's like negligible. Anyway, I want to get into that a little bit more with fellers.
Here's what AI says about the House versus NCAA settlement. If an athlete is cut due to roster limits, there can be a benefit to the new school. Specifically, the settlement allows schools to grandfather in athletes who are cut or would have been cut due to the new roster limits. These designated student athletes will not count against the new roster limits at their new school for the remainder of their eligibility. This allows the new school to potentially acquire talented athletes without impacting their ability to recruit within the new limits.
Yeah. I don't quite know if I understand the rule. I mean, I don't understand why they came up with the rule. I mean, it sounds like they're saying, "Oh, he got cut, so let's help him out and make the athlete more."
No, I think it's a benefit to the school. I think the pro to me sounds like you can add these athletes. I get what you're saying. Like, there's a bit of like, oh, poor athlete got cut. But it's also incentive for the school to add them and not lose any part of their roster count. Like, continue recruiting, continue doing everything you're going to do, and just add him in. Doesn't count.
I don't know. I haven't thought it all the way through. I don't know if I don't know if I understand it. And I'm trying to think in terms of other sports. I'm sure they didn't make this rule because of wrestling. That's what I'm getting at. Hey, how about the New York Post? The New York Post. Well, I'm not to get into any of the Penn State stuff because there's been no new developments. But nobody has picked up, and we thought we might see this, but no major networks, no major publications have picked up anything with the Starachi thing. Which may be something, maybe nothing. Is it because wrestling's not a very big story? Or is it because they had people investigate, they have journalists look around, poke around, and there wasn't much to go on?
I think when it comes to anything sexual allegations, they usually take time to come out. I don't think it would have been something that comes out right away. I think if
Daily Collegiate says, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
Daily Collegiate would disagree with that. Although who knows? I'm just speculating. Is it because they're still working on it? Is it because wrestling's not a big deal? Is it because they looked at things and they didn't have anything to corroborate? And the only reason that popped into my mind is because New York Post did pick up a wrestling story, and they actually ran with what's her name? Jordan Hudson, the Bill Belichick's girlfriend, played a part in AJ Ferrari not getting accepted to school. And the entire thing comes from a Mark Manning radio show. Mark Manning was on a radio show in Lincoln, and he said that Jordan Hudson played a part in. I think specifically what he said is Jordan Hudson had a role in that. She had a role in that. In AJ Ferrari not getting accepted to UNC. And, you know, when he said that, my first reaction was like, ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way she said something to the university and they took her advice, or like,
I thought he was joking. Like, he says in the interview, like, I'm serious. But I thought he was just joking.
He's serious.
Yeah.
He's serious. But it wasn't that she spoke out about it. It wasn't that she went to the university. What I'm getting is they had a thing with a sexual assault on their basketball team, and that was getting worked through. They had this big old distraction with her, with Jordan Hudson, and she was a distraction. And the powers that be at North Carolina said, we don't need another story. We don't need another bad story. We don't need another bad optics. And they didn't admit AJ Ferrari, which I can see their point. I can also not see their point, and I can see their hypocritism. See how they're being hypocrites with the basketball guy who's literally has pending charges. AJ Ferrari does not have pending charges. But this basketball player has pending charges, and I shouldn't say that. I don't know if he has pending charges. He definitely has pending allegations. But they're like, then they got caught. He wasn't allowed to like practice, but then they found out he was practicing anyway, and they still let him stick around. But for our point is that it wasn't that she spoke up against it. It was that they didn't want another story. So I wanted to clarify that. Hey, I've been working like a dog, and I was out in Chicago, then back, then working on all this Fargo stuff, then working on Crystal Ball. And so I haven't been on social media as much. But in like the last couple of days, I just caught glimpses of it where it's like people are like pitting Bo and Zahid against each other. Like where's that come? Did that just come from a
thin air in a holiday weekend? What happened was Bo
RAF did like so. Let me guess. RAF announced that they signed Bo. So then Oklahoma State fans said Zahid would beat Bo. Is that how it happened?
Bo went on Ariel Helwani's show, and Ariel is a big David guy. He's had David Taylor on a couple times, and he proposed to Bo, like, what about a match with David Taylor? And Bo's like, he doesn't want that. And basically, I think, like, left it at that. It wasn't too much. Oklahoma State fans instantly took that as Bo saying, I'll beat the doors off of David Taylor, blah, blah, blah. Oh, somebody doesn't want that. And then I think it got translated into Zahid, and it went from David to Zahid, and then Bo versus Zahid. And I don't know. I think it's just Oklahoma State fans rallying around their guys, and I think it's a long holiday weekend with nothing going on, and people speculate.
Well, maybe we could see it. Maybe we could see it in the future, um, at RAF, because although Bo's a touch bigger now, but I mean, like Zahid did wrestle 92, right? Um, but Bo's wrestling 92 now. So who knows? And both of them are signed. Zahid's signed, I think, to RAF. Is he not?
Yeah,
Maybe he's not.
I think he was one of the earlier signings.
Yeah, there's still a lot of things that haven't been announced for RAF. Um, like there's some good ones. There's some good ones for Card One that is going to be announced here this week, and there's some guys that already signed that they haven't announced yet.
Why
But
don't we talk Real American for a
it,
minute? Because
it's yeah.
well, there's a number of MMA signings and retired guy signings, and there's commentary around why. Why are you bullish on a guy who's maybe retired, or like there's some MMA guys like Bo's obviously kind of an anomaly because he was such a high level wrestler, but then you got other guys like Lance Palmer, for example. You got other MMA guys. You got retired guys like Darian Caldwell. What was the idea behind bringing those guys into the league?
Well, first let me say the first card I feel is going to be a lot different. I shouldn't say a lot different. I think the first card is the most challenging for several reasons. Number one, first and foremost, and the people at RAF are awesome, and they want to get the ball rolling, and they're go go go, and who cares? This is going to be great, right? Um, and they look at it through a little bit of a different lens than we look at it through. Uh, in fact, they have to like remind me every couple days, like, Willie, you're thinking, Willie, let's get back, right? Where like, and some of us hardcore wrestling purists think that the only thing that matters, like, if it's not Olympic silver against Olympic gold, what does it matter, right? And I frankly think through that lens a lot of times, where they're thinking of it as it's going to be a good match to build up to the future, and it's going to be good entertainment, and let's tell the stories of all these guys and girls. And I have to like refocus sometimes. Say, yeah, that's a good point. You know, I mean, wrestling fans are kind of their own worst enemies in that regard. Such that, and I'm guilty of it too, right? But to a lesser degree, like a lot of wrestling fans, I mean, a lot more people only watch NCAAs or only watch Big Tens, or they're only going to watch Penn State versus Michigan. Very few other people watch Lock Haven against Navy, right? And so, but Lock Haven versus Navy is the thing that makes the world go round. And so I don't think you poo-poo every time it's not 1 versus 2 in the world. But the real challenge with this card is the World Championships. You're asking the best athletes in the world to break up their training, have a competition in a promotional league, in a new league that's never been staged before. And we all know that people in wrestling, I mean, hell, there's guys, we talk about duck season in the middle of college every year. We talk about We talk about college coaches. Well, I'll wrestle here and I won't wrestle there, and I don't want my schedule to be too hard here and too hard there. And now we're asking guys that made the world team in America and in other nations to like disrupt their training for something they've never seen before. I mean, we haven't even put out rules yet, right? So it's very challenging. This first card, I think, is going to be very challenging. The October card, well, I just said that out of turn. There's going to be a card in October.
Well, I think I'm pretty sure Jordan. I think Jordan Oliver already said that. I think
but Jordan was wrong. Jordan was wrong about the date and wrong about the location. But there is a card in October, and I'm telling you right now, like we're gonna have to tell people. We already started telling people no. I mean, we can't have 1,000 matches on a card, and everybody wants to be on the October card. A lot of people don't want to be on this August card. So, like a world teamer like Real Woods, he's not going to wrestle. I shouldn't say he's not going to wrestle. You can't blame him for not wanting to wrestle the Russian rep at 65, right? So you have him on against somebody that has a story, right? Darian Caldwell's sort of a enigma legend that did the unthinkable in NCAAs and has fought ever since.
By the way, there's people in the chat that don't know that there's some matches. So, yeah, they're on the RAF website. I'll name a few. James Green versus Austin O'Connor. Austin Gomez versus Lance Palmer. Aaron Brooks versus Hayden Zilmer. Real Woods versus Darian Caldwell. Sarah Hildebrandt versus Hernandez from Mexico. Blades versus Arriaga. Where's she from?
Mexico,
too.
I don't even know because Kennedy's opponent got changed. Her original opponent had to scratch for some reason.
Those are the 6 matches on the website right now.
Yeah, but some of them, some of them are pending. Yeah, there's really good. There's at least 5 matchups that are set for this card, for the August 30th card, and they will be a couple of them certainly announced very shortly. Bo's opponent's locked in. There's some good ones, but I'm bullish on it. You know, it's easy to say I'm bullish on it when you know I'm involved with it, but
well, you're wearing the T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you know what T-shirt I got in the mail yesterday?
What's that?
Rider shirt. Oklahoma State fans will like that one.
Let me see it again. I missed it.
Shout out Zach Ryder.
I like it. Corby says, does selling so little tickets worry anybody? And yeah, I think it's worrisome. I think it's a little worrisome. However, at the same point, and this is sort of our fault, it's the organization's fault, but we're all kind of learning. Listen, we didn't announce the rules. We didn't announce the format. We didn't announce 75% of the matches that are happening. Right? So, frankly, while professional wrestling is coming to Cleveland, and if I lived in the area, I would probably go regardless of what the card was. It's hard to fault anybody for not buying a ticket when they don't know what they're going to watch. Right? There's only been a couple matchups announced. You don't know what the format is, and the format. The rules are almost, and I'm gonna post them this week. I'm gonna get everything up this week, but the rules are almost entirely what UWW rules are. with the exception of a couple things. And it's a UFC type series. It's a UFC type series where you win and you move up the pecking order and you get a chance to win the belt. Eventually, there will be belts and RAF world champions at each weight. That's another thing. I don't even know if the weights have been released yet. So we're just getting rolling, and we got to get our ducks in a row and get more of the information out. I mean, internally, we all know the information, but we got to do a better job of getting it out. I'm just looking at some of the stuff in the chat. It's probably Bo versus Plumber. No, it's not. It doesn't matter. Y'all aren't building the wrestlers. I don't know what that means. We have to build wrestlers? Oh, their stories. Oh, we're not? Thanks, Jorge. Glad you're on the ground floor. glad you have your ear to the pavement, Jorge. Yanni versus Jo. What if I told you Yanni? What if I told you there's a Yanni match coming? 3 2-minute periods. That was leaked. I shouldn't say leaked.
Well, Izzy did a podcast, right? Izzy did a podcast.
He didn't do I don't think he did a podcast.
He did something.
He did an interview with a Russian journalist. And some things came out in that article that was true and not true, or true and sort of true. They said something about school children and that's not happening. We discussed having undercards to build local stuff, but that's not happening. That's not a part of our regular plan. The regular plan is this. It's a UFC style competition. It's a UFC format where we try to get the best wrestlers on earth to compete for the title. No more, no less. And while there are challenges, and we're talking about challenges even domestically prior to the World Championships, the same goes for athletes across the world. Russians, Japanese, Mongolians, Uzbek, everywhere. I'm pretty sure you will see a lot more international flavor. I know you'll see a lot more international flavor on the October card and cards beyond that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some coaching news.
Hey, Jorge, I don't know if you're new around here. I can't take criticism. There is not someone in wrestling that takes more criticism than me. I can take it. But you are not talking. You don't know what you're talking about. Give us one storyline of the card. The matchups weren't released yet, right? They announced 3 matchups. What's the goal of RAF? The goal of RAF is to be...
Willie, I'm going to banish you from live Mondays.
Why? Why?
We still have a hit list of things to go through. And you're going back and forth with one person in the chat.
We're talking about stuff. All right, what do you want to move on to?
Let's talk about the coaching updates in the past week.
Teyon Ware to Northern Colorado.
And your boy Sammy Sasso back to Easton.
Yep, he's coming to Lehigh. Glad to have Sammy back here. I wasn't I wasn't entirely sure what Sammy would do. I knew he was looking to get into coaching. He reached out, I don't know, a few months ago, and I was really trying to nudge him in the direction of Penn. I mean, for a few reasons. Um, and I was aware that Lehigh had a position open, but Lehigh's actually both of them. Lehigh and Penn's role was a little cloudy. Like, was it a resident coach? Was it an RTC coach? Was it an on-staff coach? Because Penn is like moving some pieces, right? Because Roger Reyna is still on staff for one more year, but they're switching the head coach and the associate head coach between him and Valenti. And there's pieces moving in and moving out. And you might go to Penn as an RTC guy for 1 year and then move over to the staff next year when Roger leaves. So that was a little fuzzy. And then Lehigh's role was a hybrid role too. And when I talked to Coach Santoro about it, they said, well, we might be looking for like a guy on staff, but we might look for a guy on RTC, but it could be either or. Anyway, initially I was trying to talk Sammy into going to Penn, but yeah, it turned out he'd gone to Lehigh, which I love. Back
Yeah,
in
and
Lehigh Valley,
I mean,
right here.
he put a post up, something about like signing something about his contract and how Monday's his first official day at work and who's going to be his first recruit. So I assume that like recruitment is going to be a part of the position.
Yeah, they have practice in 8 minutes. I might actually go up there. The problem is I have a business call at noon, but man, I'd like to go up there. They called me. Zach Ray called me yesterday to come to practice at 10, but I'm here talking to you.
And the people.
And the people. I'm here talking to people. I'm yelling at people. Teon's really interesting. Obviously, he was a Sooner assistant at Wyoming, then back to Oklahoma, an assistant there. And I don't know. He's kind of an unknown. I frankly don't know much about how well he recruits, how well he is as an assistant. I just don't know. Now, I have been told that like he has been really good with younger guys that like high schoolers love him when he does camps and clinics. He's supposedly really great. So that's encouraging. And like I said, I think you can do a great job at Northern Colorado. It's an uphill battle to like supplant Oklahoma State and Oklahoma and Iowa State and UNI, right? Good luck trying to win a conference title there. But what you can do is certainly make a dent. Have one or two conference champs, have one or two All-Americans. And so I really wish them the best. I think they have quietly, I think they have some good resources there. I really do believe, like through this process, I learned a lot more about Northern Colorado, what they have, and what the pros and cons of that program. And I really think there's good opportunity there. What else, bud?
Well, we got Jack's Vito next Monday, final world team spot to be determined. That's going to happen next Monday in Fargo. And there's murmurings that Vito still isn't 100%. If you talk to like who you never really know. Like wrestlers kind of hold that card close to their chest, and I get it. Like you don't want that really out there, but it sounds like there's still stuff going on. He's not 100%. So I'm curious what Vito we see next week for him and Jax.
I am too, and I'm just I'm in the dark with the Vito stuff. To be quite honest, I don't know if he just delayed it just to delay it, just to get a couple more weeks of rest and training and whatever, or if there's something really lingering. I don't know if Vito's going to be 40% or 110%. I have no idea. But Mike Mao actually wrote a pretty good article on Intermat the other day. It was the first article he's ever wrote with us, and now it's not 1,000,000% insight into this match, but what it does is it lists. Go look it up. There was probably a lot of stuff that got lost the last week because everybody's going on vacation and stuff. But Mike Mao does a recap of the half dozen or so times that wrestle-offs have been delayed and what the results are. And it's something like 5 out of 7 times the guy that delayed the wrestle-off lost.
Yeah, I
Which
can see that.
Means nothing, but it's an interesting stat, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
I wish, for a lot of reasons, I wish I was going to Fargo. I never like to miss it.
Jason Bryan says it's Fargo number 26 for him. That's wild.
Twink, is that 26 in a row? Did you miss any in there? At least one time, Jason drove from Colorado to Fargo. 2 years ago, I drove from right here to Fargo. That was a trip. Oh, it's brutal. But I wish I was going. I'm not going this year. I just yesterday booked. Corby would be real happy at me because with about 3 weeks to spare, I booked my entire travel to Athens, Greece.
3 whole weeks?
He used to yell at me so much for booking stuff late.
You're saying, I vaguely remember, I think you and him were doing shows at the time that you drove to Fargo from PA. Because I vaguely recall you guys talking about that.
He drove, I think. He drove. I didn't go that year.
Jason says every single year since 1999. That's wild.
26 straight years to Fargo, Jason Bryant.
Jason should start releasing shirts that just have the number, like 26, and then it's like consecutive trips. Yeah, that's wild.
Jay Wynn says Vito was at the Cornell Youth Camp and looked great. He was also in clips with Anthony Knox before he even delayed the wrestle-off. There were clips, I forget if it's Wrestling Grind or Wrestle Grind or whatever, had posted clips of Vito and Anthony Knox just absolutely whirling around the mat. Whirling dervishes.
Whirling dervishes.
But yeah, he looked great. He looked fine then. And so that's why I'm saying, those neck injuries, if it was a hamstring, if it was a wrist, but it's been a neck, and it's been a neck thing for like over a year. And so those are a little hard to identify if that's overcomable. Yeah, who knows? One day he could be great. The next day he could feel tight. So I'm not sure exactly. There's video of him and he looks great.
Well, listen, hopefully both are 100% and we get a fun best of 3 series. 12 or 18 minutes of good wrestling.
Yeah. Hey, so Justin, quite honestly, I booked my travel for Athens, Greece. I missed. I don't like missing cadet. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't like missing Cadet Worlds, and I don't like missing Fargo. And something got to give there, right? Because they're right next to each other every year, same month. It's like probably a week or two apart most times, so it's hard to hit both. But everything booked for Greece. But you know what? Frankly, otherwise, I'm a little out of the loop when it comes to international stuff. As I know, like one of our last shows, we missed a show, our second show we missed last week, but the one before that we had talked a lot about, or a little bit about, who's going where in terms of the ranking series and overseas events. I saw the Pan Am Junior roster came out. Yeah, catch me up. Catch me up.
So
catch us up on international stuff.
So a couple of team announcements. The U23 team has been finalized. The USA U23 World teams are finalized. Penn State with 7 of 10. So Lilladall 57, Jax Forrest 61, Marcus Blaze, PJ Duke, Messenbrink, Levi Haynes, Rocco Welch, Josh Barr, and then the Grandview guy that you refuse to try to say his name. So if you can't say his name, I can't say his name. It's like 20 characters. Initials GK, and then Iowa State's Daniel Herrera at heavyweight. I should have got a pre-recorded clip from Jason Bryan. I'm sure he pronounces it fluently. But that's the U23 team. So you got Penn State with 7 of 10, Oklahoma State with Jax Forrest, Grandview with the 97-pounder, and then Iowa State with the heavyweight. And then U20 Pan Am's team came out yesterday. So people, I don't know if it's just, let me back up. People love to say there's no casual fans in wrestling. That's just crazy, because something like this, like I put a graphic out, like here's the team for U20 Pan Ams, and people start asking, where's this person? Where's that person? What happened to this guy? What happened to that guy? The U20 Pan Am team, the guy who makes the U20 team gets the first right of refusal for the spot. If they don't want to go for whatever reason, they don't. So the U20 Pan Am's team, which men's freestyle is Saturday, half of the U20 World team is going. The other half were guys that were asked. So it's Antonio Mills at 57 kilos, Kyler Larkin at 61, Luke Stanich at 65, Jackson Joy at 70, Will Denny at 74, William Henke at 79, Adam Waters at 86, Connor Marisola 92, Justin Rademacher 97, Cole Marisola heavyweight. Strong squad.
Yeah, and Waters, I talked to one of the coaches on the staff at I talked to one of the coaches on the Pan Am staff, and he's also a coach for Team PA at Fargo, and he's saying that he's hoping him and Waters get to Fargo in time, because they're going to Pan Ams and then they're going right to Fargo, and I think Pennsylvania for the team title would be fine without him, but it is a big loss if he doesn't make it in time, because he's going to score a lot of points. He's going to score a lot of points for PA. Now, of contenders for both junior and cadets, I have up, but it's limited to the states that have announced their rosters. The power states that have announced so far are PA, Jersey, Ohio. Florida also announced. So you're really waiting for Cali, waiting for New York, waiting for Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois. So,
and Willie has a contenders list. So as the rosters come out, Willie's there's a ranking spreadsheet basically on the Mad Scouts Rockfin, where as rosters are released, he's putting the top contenders at each weight.
I put the contenders in. I put their placing either at Vegas or Fargo last year, or what they did in their regional this year. The regional is a pretty good indicator. And then, so I guarantee you, USA Wrestling today releases another batch of teams, 4, 5, 6 teams, and so I'll put them all in and update them for tomorrow. But Pennsylvania has a really strong team, both cadets and juniors. I guess it goes without saying. Jersey has a strong. I kind of like Jersey's cadet team more than I like their juniors. And Ohio seems to be okay at both. I mean, relatively speaking to what they are, they're always good. But right now, it's sort of. I mean, if everybody shows that PA's sending on the if everybody shows that's on PA's roster, I think they're going to clean up.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Anything going on at the anything going on at Okie State or Iowa?
As far as what?
I don't know. Anything. News?
Not really.
Nothing really on Okie State, right? I mean, I did Crystal Ball. I don't know if we want to get into Crystal. Do you want to get into Crystal Ball?
I think we save that for a whole show, Thursday or Friday.
Right? We talked so much about. We talked so long about.
That's a whole hour show to go through
odds
Crystal
and
Ball.
ends. We could really just. It's going to take an hour to get through Crystal Ball, but I guess we could. Why don't we save Crystal Ball for Wednesday or Thursday and have a whole show on it?
Yep.
Because who knows? It's July. It's funny, the message boards. For a national feel, Intermat's the place to go for college and international. For wrestling fans in general, for hardcore like Iowa fans, it's always been the rival site. For Penn State, the rival site. For Oklahoma State, the rival site. And they've always been great. Awesome. But they just went through this transition where rival and On3 merged. And so everybody has to go to On3 now. Right? I've been posting on the Iowa boards and the Penn State boards for years. And now everybody has to go over to On3. And there were people on the Iowa boards were like, oh, we just lost all our posters and this board's not as active. And I'm like, guys, it's July. It's July. There's not much news going on. Sure, there was a lot of chatter. There was a lot of activity a couple weeks ago, but that's because you had the Bo Bassett thing and all the Penn State drama and this and that. But you got to remember it's July. So by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we probably won't have much to talk about. So let's just do a whole show on Crystal Ball.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, I will, and by that time you got, maybe if you're interested and you're hardcore and you follow me, you subscribe to Matt Scouts, you can dig in and come up with questions and why is this here and why is this there for next show. I mean, I got a pretty good grip on who's going where, or like what weights. There are some personnel questions. I mean, Oklahoma State has a ton of personnel questions. 33, 41, 49, 57, all of them questions. 65, does D start? What weight's Facundo going? I think everybody agrees, it seems clear that Ryder will be 84. Who's going to be 97? It seems like Merrill's the best guy. I've actually heard really great things about Cruz Golf. Now, is he Cody Merrill level? I don't know. That would surprise me. But I've been hearing really great reports of it from the room. It is incredible how big a brand Oklahoma State is. And yet they're so... And they have all the talent. They got all the talent in the world. They'll figure it out. But, I mean, they're going to be good. Just how good is the question. And who are they going to roll with? But their lineup is so in flux. I mean, David straight up said it to me a couple months ago. He's like, can you? Because I said I was projecting stuff for national duels, and he said, "Oh yeah, can you tell me what my lineup is going to be?" Because there's a lot of
When are we
questions.
getting seeds for national duels?
I don't know. It's a good question. I got to inquire with them. Because it's basically, I mean, it's basically the portal's pretty much closed, right? I mean, we saw a ton of movement, and it's a really good that they didn't put out seeds before. Because if you look at the crystal ball now, so my first crystal ball always comes out like right after NCAAs, a week or two after. And then comes portal season. And now I just came out with my second batch, the first update. And there's some significant changes. Like Nebraska, I had 6, but with AJ Ferrari, you know, the teams are bunched up in points there. So AJ Ferrari and basically 15 to 20 points from AJ from a 0 from Harley Andrews, that vaults them from second to third. Now, I still have Iowa ahead of Nebraska, but Minnesota moved up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, and the personnel changes. The personnel at Oklahoma, the personnel really at Iowa too, and Iowa State. So it looks like right now, Sammy Alvarez will not be in the mix. Jordan Williams, I spoke with people this weekend, and as long as he gets he has to take a couple classes, and as long as they go all right, he will be admitted. They said that he could technically get admitted now with a waiver. He could get admitted now with a waiver, but it would be not guaranteed. Or he could take a couple classes, and then it would be guaranteed. He'd be in. And so, if Jordan Williams is indeed in the mix, then you have to start thinking about who's going to be 49, who's going to be 57. I'm told Miguel Estrada is big, and that he's going to be 57 this year.
Bigly.
Big. Because, you know, Miguel's a little different in the fact that he's really short, stocky. I mean, the kid's jacked. He wrestled high in high school, but his senior year. But I almost thought he was a 41-pounder because of his stature. Then last year he splits between 49 and 57. But I heard he's good size now, 57. And I'm told he's going to be a 57.
Sweet. Well,
so
we'll do a full crystal ball. We'll do a live show. We'll do a crystal ball live show so people can comment and yell.
Yeah.
And Willie can yell back.
So, yeah, and we'll talk about it too. But I love talking about it now. So, questions for Oklahoma State personnel wise. Questions for Iowa in the middle there. But Iowa and Ben's going to be back. I thought Ben was going to be missed part of the year, but he's going to be back early. So Iowa pretty much seems set except for 1 or 2 spots. And then Iowa State has they got a couple transfers. Poulin helps. Zerbin helps. But they really got to figure out 33 to 49. And they got a lot of great options. The Frost brothers, apparently Evan's going to make 33 again. He's really big, but yeah, there's a couple teams at the top. And there's a couple teams, like, you're going to look at it, and I already know there's going to be criticism, like Cornell looks really low. Virginia Tech looks really low. And I don't disagree with you. They look low. That being said, when I'm going weight by weight, I'm not thinking, hey, I better put this kid from Tech higher so that their team score don't look so low. I compartmentalize. This is how I see 25. This is how I see 33. And so Virginia Tech and Cornell both have a lot of pieces in a lot of places that I don't have them scoring points, but definitely could. They're the two teams, Cornell, Tech, and maybe I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, UNI. UNI I have really low. But they got a bunch of guys changing weights, a bunch of guys first-time starters. I mean, UNI has Farber moving up, Volker moving up, Wohlrath stepping in as a first-time starter, Trevor Anderson, who could be I could have much higher. I mean, he had good spots and bad spots, so I know I'm probably going to get a text from Doug that I lowballed them. But, yeah, we'll get into it. More depth. Stanford might be low. I think right now, Lorenzo Norman, from what I hear, he's in between. He's undecided. They're not decided if they're going to be 74, 84 there. Aiden Valencia is going up to 49. That's official. Stanford, you can make a case. I agree, Corey, that if you see Stanford as a little bit better than that, that's a good observation. That very well could be. Ortega trying to get eligibility at Iowa. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that last year too. But that would be interesting. But that would be another sort of problem, right? I mean, they got great options from 33. Iowa State does 33 to 49. But I know I'm rambling about it, and we're gonna get it more granular with it on the next show. It's fun. I could talk about this stuff all day, but we'll save it to Thursday, Friday. Oh, by the way, if you're in the area or not in the area, we're having a social. You can check Real American Freestyle. You can check their website. I also posted it on the Intermat boards. If you're in the Ohio area or you just want to go on a trip, we're having a social at a restaurant in Cleveland Wednesday at 7. So let's go have a beer.
All right. That's the show. We'll be back later in the week for Crystal Ball. Subscribe, like, comment, do all the things that good podcast listeners should do.
Do all the things.
2 weeks out from Bills training camp in St. John Fisher. Go Bills.
Go Bills.